One of the major advantages of using our smart anchor to train with is the fact that you never actually have to do an official testing day. You're actually getting feedback every single time they train. So to get a capacity test for when they're training, you don't have to do this all the time, but like in the middle of a workout or the beginning of a workout, whatever you want it, however you want to set it up, this is how you get your numbers properly. So let's say we're doing a one-sided row. We want to know what their peak force generation is. So in a one-time effort, how much force they can generate. And what's arguably more useful is to get a capacity test, because a capacity test is going to highlight better an imbalance that exists from one side to the other. So just during their training, at some point, you can at the top here, the top number that we see is your peak force generation number. That's the one with the square around it. It's going to record a peak force that exists for less than a second. So one thing you don't want them doing is if they're doing pulling and then pull a couple of times, to get their max score, you don't want them doing that. Because, from a realistic point of view, if we're trying to help this person perform better or do anything like that, the contraction needs to be less than a second. That's realistically what it's going to be in the real world anyway. So to get peak force generation is to do one-time repetition, pull back, you check their biomechanics and make sure that, and they can do a couple of repetitions, it's fine as long as they're less than 1 second, and then you'll get your peak force generation score on that. Now, if you want to just record their capacity, ideally it's in the second set that you do this. All you have to do is, you'll see there's 4 numbers there. The bottom 2 numbers, one reads the force generation capacity, the other one reads the total force generation. Total force generation at the bottom is reserved for an entire workout. The force capacity test, or the force capacity number, is ideally for 1 set. So I normally do this in their second set or something like that. And all you have to do, because there's already a number that exists on there right now, all I have to do is go to the device, push the button that's on the right-hand side, and hold it long enough for that number to go to 0. Now that it's at 0, and we have our peak force generation already from maybe the previous set or just from testing it once or twice, we're ideally set up to do our capacity test or get our capacity score. And like I said, this can be right in the middle of their workout. Because with their peak force generation number that exists right there, if they don't score within 25% of that number, it won't accumulate. So as they get more tired, it's going to limit their capacity to actually add to the score. So that's ideally, they're going all the way to failure for this test, which is really what we want them to do, or be within a couple of repetitions of failure anyway. So from here, we're set up. We have our peak force generation, and our force generation capacity is at 0. And we do as many repetitions as we can. Of course, as pros, we're watching their posture, making sure they're not, moving funny to be able to get a higher score. And once they've hit their limit, you'll see a number that is accumulated at the second to last number there, which is their force generation capacity, and that's their capacity for 1 set. You can use that now to prescribe, instead of using a number of repetitions that they need to do per set, you can use that number as a threshold. Hey, I want you to get to 250, 500, or 1,000, whatever the exercise is, for every set that you do. This is where you need to be. Okay, I hope that helps.